Hey guys, a little video from Rage. I just wanted to explain something to you. When you are looking at differentials and how they wear and why things happen the way they do and why differential lubricant is so important. So in a previous video I covered weights of shock oils and such, but I didn't really get into differential lubricants. When you use a grease, a lot of times it gets thick and pasty and gets stuck to the side. And then your gears explode, kind of like what happened here. See the pins inside? The gears have literally blown up. And the reason that happens is because when the grease sticks to the sides, there's no lubricant on the actual gears themselves when the differential is diffing out, so to speak. So when power is being transferred to the wheel with the least amount of traction. The other thing I wanted to explain to you basically is weights of oil. The thinner the oil, the easier the differential cups will turn from one wheel to the other. For instance, when there's thin oil, this is going to spin really freely while holding the ring gear. If it's thick oil, this will spin extremely hard. The thicker oil you run, the more locked the differential is. Basically what that means is power coming from the motor to the input main gear and to the wheels. With thick oil, it's going to pretty much put the same amount of power on each side of the differential. The other thing is when you run a thinner oil, they spin more freely, more like an open diff. So grease is basically considered a thin oil because they are never really packed enough to create a lot of lubricity other than lubricity resistance, other than just lubricating the gears and they spin round and round because the grease flows okay once it gets warm. When you run a thick lube like 100,000 weight, 200,000 weight, and then you get up into the 500,000 weights and million weights, the thicker the lubricant that you're running in here, the slower the gear will turn from one side to another when power is applied here. So if you have this wheel off the ground, the wheel coming out of this side of the truck, for instance, if this was the direction it went in your vehicle, on the shredder that it came out of, it actually goes this way in the rear differential. So let's say, for instance, this wheel's off the ground. The power coming from the motor with a thinner oil is going to put all the extra power that doesn't have traction over here to this wheel, which is going to create uneven tire ballooning and sometimes loss of control if it's too thin. It depends on what kind of material you're on. If you're on a really loose, gravelly, slippery conditions, snow, rainy roads or whatever, an open diff is fine because it doesn't take a lot of power to break the traction. When you're running off-road, grass, gravel, sand especially, you want a thicker oil, like at least on this particular rig, I like in the front and rear differentials, I like about a 15,000 weight because it's really good for this particular setup. The wheels are big and heavy. The differentials are slightly smaller than in the size of what should be in the truck, so they spin a little easier. The thicker weight for this truck and the weight of the rig, I like about a 15,000 in the front and rear diffs. Now, a lot of people like a thinner oil because they do a lot more pavement driving, or if you've got a real high traction area, it also works quite well because it makes it easier to steer. But when you have a real high traction area, let's say for instance you're trying to do speed runs, a thinner oil, if you do break traction, it's going to force the vehicle left or right. A thicker oil will help you stay in track. It's going to be more like a posi-track. All the wheels are going to be trying to get the same amount of power to help keep the vehicle straight and true. If you guys have any more questions on differential oils, what they do, how they're important to your rig, if you don't think I covered something that you might have a question about, please leave it in the comments. Get back with me. I will get a hold of you personally through Facebook, Rage RC Repair on Facebook. That's a group. Or I will get a comment back to you, let you know my Facebook name, and then we can talk from there as far as that goes, so we can get the information to you that you desire for whatever it is I may have missed. But I'm pretty sure that basically covers what goes on with differentials. So grease, if you don't use enough inside of a differential housing itself, the actual spider gear unit, that's what's going to happen. Shit's going to blow up.